रोशनी का कारवां।
This podcast is brought to you by Barrier Break Solutions Private Limited and Score Foundation.
ये है रोशनी, रोशनी, रोशनी का कारवां, रोशनी। Eyeway, ये है रोशनी का कारवां।
Hi, my name is George Abraham and welcome to Eyeway Conversations. My guest today is Ruchi Patil, mother of Arijit Patil, who is visually impaired. Welcome, Ruchi, to this conversation.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be chatting with you here today.
So, Ruchi, when and how did you actually discover that Arijit was blind?
So Arijit was born in the 6th month of my pregnancy. So there were a lot of issues that the hospital and the doctors, the pediatricians were screening him for, vision being one of them. So around the time that he was, I think, 1 month old, which is like -2 corrected age, that's the time they found that the retina wasn't growing as it was expected to do. And they started with some treatments over here. So that is how the process started. Losing vision was yet another thing that, was spread out across 2 years and multiple treatments. I mean, when Bombay had exhausted its resources, we were asked to go to Chennai, Shankar Netralaya, with the best doctors there trying their bit. And after going through 4 surgeries, he started wearing glasses. He loved playing with color. That's how it started. He loved playing with color and those bright, soft toys and things like that. And slowly he started losing vision. By the time he was 2.5, he had lost his vision.
What would you actually call this eye condition? Is it retinopathy of prematurity or something like that? Or what is it called?
Yes, sir. It's retinopathy of prematurity.
So when you as a young mother and your husband, when you kind of realized that your son was going to be blind and had to live his life as a blind person, what was your initial reaction?
We were in total shock, I think overwhelm, panic. There were lots of emotions flooding through us, sorrow, guilt, fear, anger. So I think it was not just one thing. I think the most important one was guilt. I mean, both of us felt that, we couldn't give our child something as basic as vision. And I more so because he was born premature. So I kept thinking that if I had done something differently, he may not have been born premature and he may not have had to lose his vision. So, those were the things that we really went through. We struggled through over time.
If you know of anyone with vision impairment who needs guidance on living life with blindness, please share the Eyeway National Toll-Free Helpline number 1800-5320-469. The number is 1800-5320-469.
It is said that the first 3-4 years of a child's growth is critical to what he becomes in life. Mm-hmm. So it appears that you guys had a very quick turnaround in terms of emotions. And what actually got you going to look at Arijit as your child and a child who needed your attention and nurture?
So I think the guilt actually worked both ways. It was like, if I have deprived him of his vision, I'm going to give him everything else in this world. There were small little things, adjustments that I had to make in my mind that, I would see small kids, looking around and, just seeing people, sometimes smiling. And I would say, oh my God, my child is missing out on this stimulation. What do I do? So I started playing. In fact, I had started playing prayer music in the NICU itself. And I flooded his life with music, sounds, and everything that was possible. We had around 5,000 CDs by the time he was 6, I guess. So, we just tried to bombard him. So we said that the world is bombarding the sighted child. Why should my child be deprived? So that was one. The second thing was, I think we had a beautiful support system. So Arijit's pediatrician, Dr. Kupchandani, deserves credit here for putting us with developmental pediatrician Dr. Vibha Krishnamurthy, who kept looking at Arijit and saying that, now it's time for physiotherapy. Now it's time for, he may not walk if you don't do it, because children learn by seeing. So in visually impaired kids, what happens is that in the absence of vision, they may not learn. And so Vibha was there constantly. And I also, being a very voracious reader, I knew that the first 6 years of my child's life were very important. I couldn't just, sit back and cry. I had to resurrect what remained. So that came around the time Arijit was 2.5, and when he started walking, in fact, my first meeting, I was told, it was a very guarded response by the developmental pediatrician, who says that we are not very sure of his brain development, we are not very sure of his hearing. So, with the multiple words on our head, we said we have no control over what is not, but we have to make efforts of what we can. So I myself, I mean, with the being with him being premature, and with the kind of stringent protocol of very few people touching him, this fellow wouldn't let anybody do anything with him. So I learned physiotherapy. I started doing that. He luckily walked at, with God's grace, started walking at a record age, I was told then, of 15 months. And our journeys to Chennai continued. I mean, every time we would come back, we would take the next appointment, plan for it, go there, again get him evaluated. What next? What next? I mean, for hours, I would be researching what can be done. Until one day, we were told that we are not sure whether Arijit can talk. And we were asked to give him sign language. And they said that, the more I delay his sign language, I'm depriving him of communicating. So that was a time that I decided that there has something that has to shift within me. I cannot be fighting over something today which I'm not even sure of and lose what I have. I need to resurrect what is. And that's when I said that, I need to close this Chennai chapter. I need to stop thinking about it right now and focus on my child's development. So that's when I began intense speech therapy. So when they asked me to give him sign language, I said that give me 3 months. If he doesn't speak in 3 months, I get back with sign language. So I just had a window of 3 months, and I researched whatever was available, tried various things. But the thing with Arijit is, I think I had, whatever I did with him yielded results. So I had a little recorder, and I had language baskets and cognition baskets and things like that. And when I went to see the developmental pediatrician 3 months later, she says, he's fine. Please go on. I don't think he needs sign language anymore. He talks regularly. He speaks 5,000 words, I think, in 3 months or something, 3 languages, and he's doing well.
Right. So obviously by 5, 6, it was time for Arijit to go to school. And what were the things, what was the checklist you had for yourself to have him ready for school?
So, I think I forgot to mention, by the time Arijit was 2.5, we started going to Sheila ma'am, who was his early interventionist. And she says that, we thought it's going to be very convenient to go to a blind school, because they would have the tools, the techniques, the know-how, the acceptance, everything.
Right.
But she said that, no, that wouldn't be a very stimulating environment for Arijit, who happens to be a very bright kid. And that's when we decided that, okay, the mental decision that it has to be a regular school was made. And I think we have been very lucky. Arijit comes with a great good fortune of being supported by amazing people and schools. So this is his third school now. The first school was Ott India in Worli. The second was Beacon High. So that was just 2 years, his preschool years. When it was time to move on, again, we made some 5 applications. 3 of them didn't respond, 2 of them did. But when we went to his school, Beacon High, his principal, Mrs. Jamali, very happily told us that, you know what, he looks like a very interesting kid. I haven't done this before, but I'm willing to give it a try. And the 10 years that Arijit, 11 years that Arijit was with them till grade 10 have been the most beautiful years of our lives, because I was very sure that Arijit goes to a school where I don't have to fight for him to go, where he's welcome with open arms. So this was a school that celebrated him, that gave him every opportunity. I mean, whether it was sports day, whether it was annual day, this fellow's Hindi day, piano, music, anything, you name it, and Arijit was there. Whether he had to give a speech, whatever, I mean, they just gave him every opportunity and made him what he is. I owe a lot to the school. The third school that he's presently in is Bombay International School. Again, a very inclusive school, just that the COVID situation has made the situation very, very difficult in terms of socializing and things like that. But he hasn't lost a day's work. The teachers are very approachable. They are always, very forthcoming with any kind of support that he may need. So we have been lucky. But yeah, I think I need to come back to the point of preparing him for school. So that is one area which really needs work. And so I was home for around a year. I almost ran a small scale industry making books, because I realized nowhere in the world for kids below 6, even American AFB had books for kids above 6. So being a voracious reader, I said that, if I have it, why doesn't he? So we had a little, two teachers helping me with making those tactile books. And then we started off with recordings and activity charts and parallel stuff. I think he played the piano untaught at the age of 2.5, and he learned the computer at the age of 4. So, I mean, I always thought, how could I make it equitable? So if kids are scribbling, why wouldn't Arijit do? So it was so sweet. In fact, this is something I was telling him a few days ago. He would just scribble ASDF, WERTY, UPOIU, whatever, and then make Jaws read it. So Jaws would say Asdapa, whatever, and he would laugh. I said, what happened? Mama, see how Jaws is reading. So, that's how he took to the computer. So there was a lot of work that is needed, a lot of teaching aids to be made, but luckily everything fell in place.
So all this happened before he went to the first school.
So so I started this journey then, and I think this is something that will, I mean, my input in his life has been gradually reducing to the extent that this now in his grade 12, I'm just his math scribe. So, and it didn't happen over a year. This was something that was ongoing all the time. And, integration and inclusion are very, very different. So first and foremost, I wanted to achieve integration. Then I wanted to make sure that he's included. And we actually ran a social skills curriculum at school with the principal's permission, which he was always very happy to do. So, whether he's a part of the yoga camp, everything that was happening in school, art and craft, does he have 3D diagrams which he can color? So everything that was happening, did he have something to do? So this was an effort which went on for a while, but yeah, not just before school. It started off then. A big spurt happened then, and it continued.
I remember when I was growing up, in fact, a lot of what you say kind of resonates with me, because in a different context, because I grew up in a different era. But, the engagement with the school that my parents had, they would, they would regularly visit the school, not on a daily basis, but maybe on a fortnightly or monthly basis. They would interact with the teachers, because obviously having a visually impaired child in class was a novelty for most teachers. So what was the kind of engagement that you needed to have with the teachers that engaged with Arijit?
So basically, with India, I think we don't have these TVIs as they are called in the US.
Yeah.
So the school gave me a very open platform. I never came back with no for an answer. Whatever I asked for, Mrs. Jamadi always made sure that she had made the way. So, whether it was, Miss, can I do this? Of course, let me call the teacher. So it was, I had a playing field where I could actually, do whatever I wanted to. So, ma'am, can I not do the diagrams this way? Can I do it this way? Of course you can. What else can you suggest? So I think they were very, very open, and the teachers, and I think it was a culture of inclusion. So I think it was easy, but yeah, my level of engagement was high and slowly started reducing. So I sent a special educator for his initial years, started off with full time, and we started weaning off only in areas where he needed support. The special educator would go. And I think by the time he was in grade six, the special educator was out, except for, any kind of diagram questions or whatever, or if there were any notes that the teacher wanted, she would just type it and give it to him. Anything that was written on the board, she would just provide to him. But by the time he was in grade six, that had just come off completely.
Were there other children with disability also in the school, or Arijit was the only one?
Yes, there were. So this is a school which, their motto is something which they have lived. We dare to care was the school's motto. So there was another Down syndrome kid. There were multiple kids with disabilities, and we never got to know who was what, because I think they never made a big deal about it. But these were kids in and around Arijit's class, which is why I know there were two kids with autism. There were kids with learning difficulties. So there were multiple kids with multiple issues. I remember seeing a child on a wheelchair. So yes, there were kids like this. And there's one incident that I recall at this moment. So there was this girl I used to go to, I would be around school for the first year or so, wouldn't come back home just in case Arijit needed something, the teachers needed something. So I was just fetching him, and there was this Down syndrome girl who was coming down, and this little child, he goes to the teacher and he says, "Miss, you know what? This fellow has said this to this girl." So I knew that this is a culture which does not encourage not being kind to a special needs child. That
Right.
always stayed with me.
So I think, do you think the inclusivity of the school stems because of an ideology or a mission that the school had set out, or was it entirely to do with the principal?
So this was a school set up by the principal only. In
Ah.
fact, yes. So I think they made sure that the culture seeped through the teachers, the children, the parents. I think they made sure that they lived that culture.
Yeah, a lot of schools do say that other parents do object to having children with disability in the class because the progress of the students generally gets delayed because of children with disability maybe slowing them down. So that did not happen. This school appears.
Not at all, not at all. In fact, for some quizzes in some classes, Arijit was the one who was chosen and said that, people would make sure that Arijit's strengths are shown so that people could respect him equally. So kids would say, no, we want Arijit in our team because this fellow is an encyclopedia. He reads so much, our team will win. So I think they made sure that his strengths also get highlighted. This is a child who can do so many things. What you say, I do see that, there were parents who thought that their children are not getting very stimulated and they would not send their kids and, things like that. But there was always the other group, there was this other kind of parents and the other kind of kids that we focused on.
This brings me to another thought. How easy or difficult was it for Arijit to make friends? Friends would mean people with whom not only people to whose houses we would go to, but they would come to your place and or maybe go out for outings and so on. Was that something that happened often with Arijit?
So I think disability does pose that issue, and one should not be in denial. But Arijit has been lucky. I mean, as I say, COVID has made this school, socialization with this school a little difficult. But the previous school, we had kids very often over, and there were kids who were here for sleepovers. Arijit would be invited, and I think there was a level of inclusion. And there were times, let me just come to that also. There were times that I felt that, Arijit is not being, is not here, and Arijit is not here. But luckily, Arijit's nature is such, he would would say, Mom, it doesn't bother me. And that's when I realized that I should not cloud his mind with my perceptions. He is very happy with his setup, and he is not complaining. And why am I bringing it to, his notice? Something that I'm seeing and he's choosing to overlook. Why am I bringing it into his, field of thought? So that way we were lucky. We have lovely friends, he's still in touch with, and uh, I think post COVID, they're already planning a holiday and things like that. So we have been lucky that way.
I am just kind of dying to ask you this question. Has Arijit come back to you with his frustrations? Because very often, being a visually impaired person myself, I find that I have to work extra hard, put in those extra hours to actually keep pace. And it could be very frustrating and sometimes even depressing. Have you had any experience where Arijit kind of said, "Why the hell is this happening to me?" That kind of thing.
So I remember just a couple of episodes of that kind. One of them was he comes back home, and math was something that I would teach him at home. He would do whatever he could do in school, because he had to do it on LaTeX, and the teacher may not be equipped. He would have to, the visual questions would have to be explained to him. So there's this day, I think grade 7 or 8, he comes back home and he says that, sir was drawing quadrilateral on the board and I couldn't understand, and I felt so bad and I felt so shameful. Why am I not understanding? But that was one episode. And the other episode I remember was, so Arijit, I think, has taken working triply hard in his stride. He is slightly harsh on himself. I don't know where he, no, I must do it. No, I must get this. No, I should get it. Let me just try. So, except for a couple of episodes, he's generally been very easy with, things and putting in that effort. There have been times where he's really worked on advocacy also. So when he was asked to, in ICSC, when he was told that please don't do math and science because they're very visual subjects, and why don't you take eco and commerce? So ICSC gives this option. This child, even I wasn't sure what he wants to do. So I said, Beta, why don't you do this? This is what people are recommending. He put his foot down. He says, no, I want to do maths and science. Then I thought that, when I wanted to do engineering, I didn't have to explain to anybody. Why is my child having to explain to anybody about it? And that's how he did his math and science. The second point of advocacy came when he was asked to use a writer. So he comes to me and very frustrated, very angry, very agitated. And he says, tell me, what is my problem? So I said, what happened? He says, do I have a problem like dyslexia or something? So I said, why? What happened? So he says that people with dyslexia are the ones who need scribes. Am I not typing on my computer? What is the problem? Why can't I write it myself? That's when we advocated for the scribe. So these 2-3 things have, been the major things for us.
To support our work with the blind and visually impaired, you can visit the donate page on our website www.scorefoundation.org.in. Please note www.scorefoundation.org.in.
Bringing up Arijit would have taken a lot of your time. So, did you have a career alongside being a mother, or were you a full-time mother?
I had a career before I became a mother. And then I think Arijit became my favorite project. So I have worked with Tata Electric Companies, the R&D department. I have worked for a good 7 years. Worked on research projects with Dr. Abdul Kalam, and enjoyed my work a lot, and I gave it up before Arijit was born. Yeah.
What is it that you might like to tell other mothers or other parents who are kind of listening to this podcast? What is the kind of message that you would like to give them based on your experience?
Your child is a child first, his disability and ability later. Please see him as a child first. Enjoy him.
Right.
The second thing that I would want to say, which I always say, is always see the things he can do and not the things that he can't do.
Yeah.
build it up, stack it up. It all adds up, small little things. And the third thing is keep your expectations real and high. I mean, don't be a high pressure parent, of course, but just understand that in Arijit's case, his disability is his vision, not his intelligence, not his perseverance. So I will not tell him that, you can take it easy and work just 3 hours a day. No, I will tell him that, you need to put in the hours, you need to build in sincerity, you need to have integrity, you need to have accountability. These expectations are set right. And then whatever you get, you're my hero. So celebrate your child is the next thing that I really want to say. Enjoy him, celebrate him. I mean,
Right.
And the last thing is a lot of people give a lot of reactions because they are not aware. They don't know how to, I remember that when we would go to restaurants and Arijit was small, people would look at us as if we'd come from Mars, or people would look at us with so much of pity, and we would say, excuse me, we don't need your pity. We need equal acceptance. We need engagement. Like I come and say hi to your child at the table, and do that as well. So I think these are the things that I don't get defeated by these kind of attitudes. Just focus on your child, focus on your dreams, build it up together. That is what I would like to tell them.
I would like a lot of our listeners to know that, as you said, he is a child. He's your son or daughter, and they need to be enjoyed. They need to be nurtured, and they need to be given the opportunity of moving towards their potential. The tragedy is that I've met a number of visually impaired people who have actually been deserted by their parents and family when they were young, and
Extremely sad.
it is difficult to kind of grasp that kind of a thinking, but that is a reality. And I do hope that people who listen to this podcast would look at children with disability also as an opportunity to love and an opportunity to mold a person who actually grows up to become a contributor to the country and the society. So thank you so much, Ruchi, for talking to me, and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, sir. It's been a privilege. I would want to close it with something that, I had thought I'm going to talk about and just slipped my mind. My early interventionist, Sheila Sinha, I remember when Arijit was 2.5, and I was fretting one day that, K Sera Sera, how am I going to do this? How am I going to manage this? And she came and told me that, Ruchi, I see a George Abraham in him. So she sold me a dream. And I just wish that all parents are sold a dream that they can live by.
My God, I'm flattered here, but yes, I think it's very, very good to have a dream, and it is the dream that actually takes people forward in life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Eyeway, ये है रोशनी का कारवां.
This podcast was brought to you by Barrier Break Solutions Private Limited and Score Foundation.
ये है रोशनी, रोशनी, रोशनी का कारवां.